If you're a student who's ever asked, how do I actually plan my project timeline? This video is for you. I'm going to take you inside ClickUp and show you exactly how to turn your research objectives into a visual Gantt chart with clear deadlines and milestones. You'll see how to manage everything from literature review to final report in one organized workspace. Let's really aim to simplify your research life. If you're interested in this video, sit back and relax as we get started with the video. So the objective of this video is to show you how to design an academic research Gantt chart using a software called ClickUp. It's an online-based project management software, and I'm going to be showing you how to do that so that you can learn the skill in this step-by-step demo approach. So let's go ahead and look at how do you first get hold of ClickUp. So the first thing to do is to go to Google and just type in ClickUp. So it will come up as one of the softwares here. So the everything app for your work. So if you click on that, it takes you to this environment where it sort of explains the principle of ClickUp. And I will encourage you first and foremost to actually sign up. And ideally, you want to sign up with your student account if you're a student. But if not, let's just use a common email. So I'm just going to use my personal email and sign up for free. Then after you've put in all the details, come up with information. So it wants you to get a confirmation code. So we're going to do that. So once you put in the confirmation code, you have to tell it what kind of use. I'm going to use it for school. And what basically am I interested in using it? You can maybe order, and then maybe university work. And then how did you hear about us? The normal thing. So probably a search engine. And then you can put in a phone number if you want, but I don't want to put a phone number. Invite people, I don't want to do that. And how do you use any of these tools? So I suppose as a student you could use these options if you really use them, and then you can continue. What features are you interested in? So we're currently interested in Gantt chart at the moment, and then what the name do you want to give to it? So I could call my workspace project work. So whatever project work that I'm interested in, I'll put that in. So once you do this, it now creates your environment where you can actually begin. So this is sort of the environment that you have in terms of what you want. Clearly, what we are interested in is this Gantt chart. So I'll click on the Gantt chart. So this gives us the environment where we can, and typically with a Gantt chart, you've got the space here that talks about all the tasks, and then you've got the space here where you can allocate time to the task that you want to do. So what we're going to do is to look at the project that we're going to convert into a Gantt chart. So if we come up, so this is the topic, the project I'm going to work on. So design of a solar-powered robotic strawberry picking machine for use in developing countries. And I've already identified some keywords, and I've also developed some sort of background knowledge to that. But what we really are focusing on, this is the research aims and objectives. But for you to develop a Gantt chart, you really want to unpack the objectives, because the Gantt chart is an instrument that you're using to break down a complex project into measurable tasks. And so the best way to do that is to focus on the objectives. So here we'll see the objectives of this research, and this will be the basis upon which we are going to develop our Gantt chart, because basically we want to show how we are able to meet all these objectives. Because once we are able to meet the objectives, then we'll meet the overall aim of the project, and then we'll be successful. So the first thing you've got here is researching the state of the art. So this is generally literature review. And then the next objective is about theoretical calculations, then producing a concept design, looking at solar-powered mechanisms for this robotic technology, do some virtual assessment, and then finally manufacture that. And so this is the objectives, and what we're going to do is to take this objective and break it down into measurable tasks. And I've already done that. So if you look at the first objective, which I've captured here, I'll make that my first work package, which is titled Literature and Contextual Review. And here we've got the literature search as work package subtask, analysis of existing technology, and then identifying the research gap. Then after that, you've got the main milestone, which will be a report that is due for submission for students in this, which someone within the organization is going to check. It could be a manager, it could be a supervisor, it could be a panel of examiners. And then the next thing here as objective 2, I've remastered into a new work package, which is called analytical modeling and design calculations, again with subtasks associated with it. Then design 3, I'll give it a single simple name, because these names are the names that are going to appear in the Gantt chart. You don't want to put all of that into the Gantt chart because it's going to be too wordy. So we will basically give it a simpler name, a 3-word name, And then these are the subtasks that form that. And then at this stage, you'll probably want to review your progress, again, maybe with the manager, with the supervisor, with the assessment panel, and that becomes a milestone. So this could be in form of a group presentation, an individual presentation, or a report that you will generate. So this is a progress review as the next milestones. And the milestones are dated. So you're going to put dates, specific dates where these things are going to happen as a way of managing your project. And then the next one is on solar energy integration, which is objective 4, objective 5, as well as objective 6. And then a lot of the milestones, including writing the final thesis, will appear towards the end. So again, depending on what milestones you have been asked to create, you can populate them and allocate them exactly where they need to be. So this is the framework of a simple Gantt chart that we're going to work with. And because I've taken time to already do this, our simple task next is to simply add this. So if we go back to ClickUp, obviously we need to create the Gantt charts. So the work package. So we know that work package 1 is literature review and contextual review. So I'm going to copy that and paste it in there. So I'll probably leave that for now. So I'm just going to create all the tasks. And then later on, we can look at what the next one is. So work package 2, which goes in there. And I'll do it for the remaining. And then if you want to add other tasks, so work package 4 and work package 5 and work package 6. So we've listed all the key work packages as headline acts that we want. The next thing we want to do with this is to see if we can allocate different timelines when these things are going to happen. So depending on when you're starting this project, so obviously you need to specify a start date. So today is the date somewhere in this. I will probably switch these to quarters. Okay, so maybe if you work with this, then probably this will be a better way to look at it. So we're going to just simply assign some sort of block task depending on how we think this is going to take. So let's say we're starting off from today. So you basically move this to, so let's say from October to November, we're going to do the literature review. And once we complete the literature review, we can begin probably somewhere around here. Maybe all of December, we're going to do the conceptual design. Maybe up to somewhere half of December, before. And then the next one, the conceptual, the third work package here. So that's analytical modeling. The third work package, you click here, and then you drag that up, let's say maybe to sometime in January. Again, for this project that I'm designing, I'm allowing myself a 6-month period to do this because this is sort of like an undergraduate research project I have in mind. So I'll probably go somewhere in February. And then the next one I could, whilst the conceptual design is doing, I could also be doing some computational modeling. And then maybe the final prototype design will just happen at the end. Again, it depends on how you want to go about doing this, but this could be a potential pathway. We understand that this project needs to finish sometime in March, probably end of March. So maybe we're going to allow ourselves some time to write up the report at the end here. If you think there is some overlap that are required in certain places, again, you could do that if that's the idea you have in mind. But with this map, at least you've got the skeleton of your Gantt chart, and then the next thing you now need to do is to populate the subtasks associated with them. So now, in terms of the subtasks, we've got the map of what we want to do. So what do we have with the subtasks? So we've written about 3 subtasks per milestone. So if we take this first one, which is literature search and review, and then we can come back under here and click here to create a subtask. So we put it in there and create. So that will appear as a subtask under the first entry. And then the next subtask here. So we're going to put that as well. So it will appear right under that. And then the next subtask, we'll select that and put again. All the time we're clicking on the main task to create the subtask. So if there is a subtask that is going to appear under this one, so for example, if you create a subtask and say example, so this will be a subtask of a task, and this is not what we want. So we're going to delete that. So if you click on that and say delete at the base, so that's that. So we've got the subtask associated with this first one. And then we can try and see if we can apportion how long those are going to take. So again, at this case, it makes sense to probably go to months, so you can have a view of what's happening with that particular first task, which is the literature review task. So okay, we could start from here, and then you just want to populate those 3 tasks and make sure that they appear properly the way they need to be. The other thing that we have here is we could around here say, okay, we want to create a subtask, and I'll call that milestone 1, which is basically this. So we could select this as a milestone and put it as a subtask under the first particular task. But we're going to select it here and then switch it to a milestone, so it's clear milestone, and we want a date for that. So hopefully at the end of that period, sometime maybe the 31st, and also due that same 31st. So you select those 2 dates, and what that has done is that it's created for us a milestone with a clear deadline there. So okay, maybe you think that's a bit too early because you really want it to happen at the end. So by all means, you can pick it up from here and just drag it to where you think it should be. So obviously as a project, there will be ideas of where these milestones and deadlines will be, and you need to be specifying it there. So if we go back to the quarter view, you could see, okay, we've got our main task and all the subtasks are appearing under it as expected. So we're going to do the same for all the other remaining ones. Okay, so we have inputted all the subtasks for all the work packages involved. So for example, work package 2 has got all the subtasks, work package 3, 4, 5, and 6. You may also don't want to hide the milestones under each work package. You may want it to be a unique independent task on itself, so that at least it will appear very visible in the Gantt chart as something that you need to monitor. So if you select it here, so currently it's a subtask, I'm going to convert it to a task. So what it's going to do is going to push ahead and become a dedicated task in itself, appearing somewhere at the bottom here. So this is fine. So again, if you don't want it to be here, if you want to push it up, just drag it up to where you want it to be. So which is after that. So it becomes a clear task immediately after the work package 1. So this could be another way to look at that. So you could add another task, which is the progress review task. Again, where we identified this to be would be at the end of work package 3. So you can move it down there. So if we collapse all this, so you can see milestone 1, milestone 2. We also have 3 milestones originally planned to be under work package 6. So I'm going to select all of them, and then I basically convert them to full tasks in themselves. And then once we have them, we're happy where they're appearing. It's not a problem because we want them to appear at the end. So when you look at your Gantt chart overall, you could see the work package, the milestones, some 2 work packages, a milestone as well. So this could be a way to visualize what you're going to do. So now we've got everything condensed. We've got an entry for this particular milestone. So we're going to focus only on this, and then again allocate responsibilities to it. So again, maybe if we go down to month level, we basically have that whole region to play with for work package 2. Again, you could start from here, and then so maybe while you're determining parameters, maybe you also want some overlap in some places. Again, projects never run completely independent, so there may be some dependencies here and there, and things are working the way they should be. So this is okay. So we'll then move on to, we can condense that and then move on to work package 3. Again, the same kind of things. Now we have the next milestone here, which is this one. So it has to be a day sometime that you want to do this. So again, we're going to switch it from a task to a milestone. And there are also, if you note here, there are also other things you want to do with this. So we're going to use a milestone, and that means it has to be on a specific day when this would happen. So it may be sometime in late December. You want to do that just before you head off for the Christmas break. So we want it on the same day, so start and due date are the same. Maybe you want a priority for this task to be really urgent, and if there is someone in the organization that you want to assign this task to, clearly it's yourself, so probably assign it to you. And then the time estimate, you can specify how long. So this is actually a 1-day task, and that's fine. And then you could tag it as technical report. And then there are other things under this. So if there are subtasks, maybe it's individual things you want to do, like writing the report, compiling, reviewing it, you can include that all here. You can provide a checklist, and maybe you could also even attach some draft copy of the project documentation. So you could also use AI to help you add some sort of commentary on that report, but we're not going to do that. But all that is you trying to give us an explicit description of what is going on with that particular task. Once you've done that, you close it. So again, you can see it's appearing sometime here, and that's okay. That task can continue to go on and it's appearing here. If that's when you want it, you can move it back and forward if you want. So, and then the next one, we can continue with the other work packages to again assign tasks to them. So now that you've finished creating all the milestones, so you can see I've changed this to year. So what you can see now, you've seen all the quotas associated with this year, and you've seen all the entries the way they need to appear. So all that is really looking good, with also the task associated on the left side. So this is really the picture of what your Gantt chart is, and it's probably ready to go. The only thing I want to add here is that you may also want to establish some dependencies. Projects have dependencies associated with them. So for example, until you finish literature review, you really don't want to start doing the analytical modeling. So maybe you can drag this to this point, so you can see it establishes a connection. Then with the analytical work, maybe it's sort of dependent on that, maybe not directly, because there's this overlap. So what you can then do is, okay, we don't want to start doing some analytical work, so we don't want to start building on this analytical work here in terms of conceptual design, at least until we have performed some calculations. So this second task here may have a dependency with this instead. So you link that to that while you still validate your result, but at least once you've done this, you want to start with the CAD modeling. So you really need to study your project and see what the dependencies are. So once you've done this analysis, the next major task we've got here is the solar energy integration. So I do think that all of these tasks need to have been finished before this one begins. So in which case you may have to move this task a bit, adjust it so that you have a clear connection between them. So everything you're doing need to all be interconnected from work package to work package. So okay, these ones, in terms of solar integration and computational assessment, they may actually be, once you finalize design, you may start thinking about these two tasks. So there may be a connection between that. In terms of solar energy integration, you want to do that and see how it's going to be linked with this. And then that work package, computational assessment, has to be done, as well as that and that. So if we look at the last one, you really don't want to start testing and evaluating, so once you can write the final report comprehensively until you finish that. So maybe this has a dependency on that. But portfolio document can start anywhere. You can even start compiling your portfolio right from the beginning. So let's say maybe once you've gone your CAD drawing or at the stage of performing analytical calculation, that task, you may be able to drag it all the way to starting portfolio document, because there is a relationship, because it's an ongoing connecting thing. So that is sort of the thing you're going to do. But of course, you really want to start building your poster after you finish the report. So again, you can make a connection like that. So all these interconnections, they are really important, because it does give a better picture of your awareness of interdependencies of tasks. And this is sort of what we are looking for when we are really building a really full informative document. So this is what a good Gantt chart would be. Of course, the next thing, you want to take this information into your report. And I would say the easiest way to do it, because there is really, you could export this particular view, but you to upgrade. So, and I wouldn't want us to do that. So even if you save that, the other ways you can use that, you can share the link with someone, and then the person can view it for you. But since this needs to probably go into a report, what you want to do is to see a way of capturing that. So the easiest way I would say is get snip into in Windows or whatever screen grabbing application you need, and click this, and then we probably want to include all of that. So let's say we could start from here and include everything on our window up onto that. So that sort of gives the idea of what your Gantt chart is. You've identified the work package, you've done all that, and then you click copy. So we're going to go to the document that we have been working with, and I'm going to go to the end of that document, open a new page, and then I'll paste it in there, and that could be okay. But I don't really like the look of that. So what I could do to make it look a bit better is to go on to layout and say open out this layout and say, okay, I want this from this point forward, I want it to be in landscape. So what that means that only that page alone are you converting it into a landscape form, so that we can expand this document a bit more, so that it's more visible for the reviewers to sort of see what you have done and see the beautiful work that ClickUp has helped you to do. And that's one way. So, but of course, the downside to this particular approach is that you haven't captured all the details. So what I would, of course, suggest you can do is you go back to ClickUp, just expand everything you've got on your ClickUp file in the way it is, and then we're probably going to split it into different views so we have it across multiple pages in the way it's supposed to be. So for example, so if you have this written in this way, so maybe for work package 1 and 2 with milestone 1, you could probably stop somewhere around here. So again, we are going to get this document, and then we'll start from here, and we get this first entry. So once you've done this, so you could see now we have the first page of your Gantt chart, the second page, and the third page spread across. So this you could have, the reviewers and the assessors or managers could actually see details of the subtasks and the times you've allocated for them in the way they should be, and that's really all that we are looking for. So that's really how you can use ClickUp to create the best Gantt chart, showing from objectives to tasks and subtasks. Thank you for your interest in this channel. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to this channel, so when content like this are made, you'll be the first to see it. Thank you, and bye-bye.